The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 22nd day of July, 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindo's. I'm Jamel Hartman. She's Mikaela Ian. He's Larry Marshall Jr. And Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to give us the latest in her news break. So don't go anywhere. I'm sure there's always something in there to brighten your day, even though the news can be a bit of a, sad story sometimes. Look, how are you both feeling today?
Well, morning, guys. I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. I'm had a good night's sleep. My son slept through the night, which is always a positive thing, so I can't complain today.
I'm yeah. I'm cool. Yeah. It's been a week. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a week, but
Yeah.
I'm alive, I'm well. I'm
Yeah.
good.
No, I want to second what Larry said. A good night's sleep. I mean, boy,
Yes.
I've been on that melatonin. How you pronounce it? Melatonin?
Melatonin.
Yeah, I've been doing that lately, and God, honestly, man, it feels good to be awake throughout the day, not yawning and just feeling like. I mean, Larry, I checked the text from you. You must have sent it like 8 something last night, bro. I was done. I was gone. Right. But it feels good because just going back to Tamara, like how she's always, the movement moment focuses on sleep and water and rest and health
Yeah.
and wellness. And so, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like it was a segment she done earlier this year about, we've always thought about we'll sleep when our time's up and this and that. But honestly, you guys, I have had probably over the last 18 months, this has been my most productive week since the pandemic, and I think a lot of it comes down to feeling, as to use Larry's word, refreshed and ready to go. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I second that.
it's probably
Yeah.
a thing that you're not thinking. I mean, you go 40 this year, right? So
Yes, I do. Yes, I
age,
do.
age could be a thing with it too.
Oh, the shade early. The shade. All
Yeah.
right, Larry.
Well, hey,
Remember,
on that note, good morning to everyone, including the people older than me. Um, we're gonna have a good conversation today. We're gonna the discussion. We're gonna talk about the Olympics, and then an interesting conversation. We're gonna talk about a third pillar. We always talk about tourism and international business, right? But we never speak about. At the end of the day, we can't keep relying on the same things. To get us out of the funk we're in. Bermuda is in a tough economic spot, so we're gonna be talking about ideas that we can come up with that will add a third pillar to the economy to help our economy not only grow, but if we're honest, get out of the position that we're in. We also have the Daily Play brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Today is Name That Place. So Mikaela is going to be guessing the answer. And I think, folks, I know I say this every day. I know I say this every day, but I think I'm confident when I say I think we've got her today. I think we finally got her. All right.
Look, if you say so.
Yeah, she doesn't make it easy, man. Like her brain is just, my goodness. Look, let's talk about the Olympics. Obviously, if you're a part of the Pure Sports Radio group on Facebook, there's been a lot of chatter about the Olympics. I first started watching the Olympics in 1992. Since I am the out on the show today. Hopefully, you all were born around that time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that you making me feel ill. But anyway, it was 92 Barcelona. That was the year. And I'm going to be honest, the reason I tuned in was because of the Dream Team, right? But I was watching track. I was watching Carl Lewis was the man in the US back then. I was very much into the Olympics from that point on. It wasn't until Usain Bolt and the Jamaicans over the last decade or so that I really tuned back in like I did back then in 92. The Olympics was obviously postponed last year. And I know, Larry, you had a lot of conversations on Facebook, Pure Sports Radio. We had some discussions during the show about it. But let's talk about the recent spike in cases, because I'm on Twitter every day, right? And I go on Twitter just to see, not to read the news, but to see what news I should be going to read, right?
Yeah.
So again, I don't look at Twitter and be like, oh, this is fact, this is news. I go and see, well, let me see what's trending. Let me see what. So I'll go to the New York Times, or I'll go to Post, or I'll get different outlets. I just take the headline and go and read the stories. But it seems like a lot of cases over in Tokyo before the athletes even arrive. Like, what's going on over there?
So the thing that's crazy right now in Tokyo is that the people who are organizing the Olympics, the committee, what they did was they decided to make the Olympic Village safe. So I'm not sure if people are aware, but ahead of the Olympics, the committees hand out condoms to every single athlete. Yes, they do. Every Olympics. That's a big thing. So this year, they still did that. However, they've made the village athletes only, so friends and family cannot visit. And the thing that's a little even crazier is that they created these beds that are made from cardboard, and they can only hold the weight of one person to discourage sexual activity, aka the spread of COVID. Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't know this, Shirelle? The face is like.
Go ahead. I'm taking this in. I didn't know. This is why having you guys here, like, I learned. Go ahead, Larry. Sorry, I'm got a lot of questions after that.
All of that, I knew it would be different protocols, stringent protocols, and whatnot. But the bed incident, it took me aback, because at the end of the day, for grown adults, if people want to find a way, they will find a way. So the beds are expected that they are only able to carry the weight of one person. And if it's more than one person or any movements, it will collapse.
Yes.
Now, I don't see one of these weightlifters or basketball players, once they shift and plop down on the bed, it's not gonna end well. But truthfully, I don't see anyone from USA basketball sleeping on those beds anyway. They must have their own hotels for something.
No, they've made it mandatory for all athletes to sleep in this dorm, and it's going to become like luxury apartments. But the thing that's crazy about this to me is you're really making these cardboard, or you've made these cardboard beds as a deterrent for athletes. These are the greatest athletes in the entire world. And you think that they can't figure out another way? Like,
Okay, so real quickly, Larry, a lot of people are saying your audio is low, so just project your voice and turn your volume up a bit. But I'm still stuck. So honestly, I watch the Olympics, so I don't know the rules in the background and all what you guys are teaching today. So all of the condoms thing was interesting. Like that's just interesting in itself. I did not know that.
yes.
But so the recent spikes in cases. You're an athlete. You walk into you're ready to go break a new record and really perform. Obviously, nobody's going to be in the stadium, but it's still that highlight of your career. How are you feeling? I'm going to use an athlete, Simone Biles. That's her name, right? That's how you pronounce Simone Biles. The gymnast of the decade, right? Now, let's say she catches COVID. We are losing.
It's over.
It's like, think about that. Like, it's yes, we lost Coco Golf, right? In tennis. But to be honest, and this is no disrespect to my neighbor, she's my neighbor here. She's no Simone Biles. She hasn't, won anything. If Simone Biles caught COVID, what happens at that point?
Well,
she can't compete.
Yeah, at that point, it's over. She'll probably be quarantined, self-isolated, those types of things. I think right now you heard the instances where athletes were being caught at the border. I don't think we've had many instances where athletes have been caught post or pre competition. I think once that happens, it's going to be a lot of hard stories. I'm hopeful that it doesn't happen.
Mhm.
Um, but I would hate to see the 100-meter favorite
Mhm.
to go on for COVID. I mean, gosh, we already had something happen with one of the 100-meter favorites about a month ago. But I think that is a huge part that we are overlooking. And at the end of the day, people want to tune in to superstars and the best of the best. And if they're not able to do it, I think it may take a hit. But at the end of the day, we get it. It's public safety also.
Mhm.
So it's just a rough situation all around.
Yeah, and this is the thing. So I'm not sure if the two of you are familiar with Lavi Ajayi. She is an author,
Mhm.
pop culture
Yeah, yeah.
commentator, etc. And she did a post earlier this week, I want to say Monday, and it was just like, how about we just not with the
Mhm.
Olympics? Like, how about we just not? Because like COVID is obviously spreading. It's a
Mhm.
disaster. No one can watch the games. Friends and family can't even come in. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we putting our athletes' health? I mean, it's not like Premier League, for instance, or the different leagues in Europe, which it's been very controlled and it's worked, right?
Mhm.
This is very different with thousands and thousands of people from all around the world. And I mean, Tokyo was already having a spike before this even started. So I just feel like, why are we even doing this? It's just a
Yeah.
mess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or
Well,
it's gonna be a mess.
let's transition. What are some of the featured events? Because it's already an Olympics, and Carla John actually says, she, she says this Olympics is basically a placeholder for the next Olympics. So it's almost like it's for some, it's like without the fans, with all the precautions, without it being how it's used to being, it's not going to be feel like a real Olympics, regardless of what happens. Whether that's
Exactly.
fair or not, I guess it's understood. But what are some of the featured events? Like, I mean, for me, I like the track, like the relays and the 100-meter dash. Like, to me, that's the exciting. No disrespect to the distance runners and the shot puts and the long jump and triple jump, but I think that's what gets people out of their seats, right? Um,
Yeah.
you
I
know
mean,
what?
for me, go ahead.
But no, I wanted to put the question to Larry as a runner. Like, what's mentally, what are they going through right now? What do these events mean to the Olympics without fans?
Yeah. I think what I'm gonna say is we'll tie into the last comment we have from Carla John, and tell that to the athletes. This is not a placeholder to the athletes. The athletes are taking this serious, and
Mhm.
they would be devastated if it was canceled and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, right now, I would have to say all you can do is focus on your event and do what needs to be done. I think if you're a seasoned athlete, you will
Mhm.
minimize your contact and whatnot. My fear is for the youngsters that want to experience everything, that are carefree and don't necessarily take the precautions, and they'll be the ones that will be heartbroken because they were trying to fraternize with other people or trying to breach places that they shouldn't have been,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they will be, taken out. As far as the featured events, you spoke about Simone Biles. The gymnastics is always a huge thing. It's probably is actually the most watched event in the Olympics. But when it's not the Olympics, it's actually not very well viewed. But you have Simone Biles is the main story. She's a five-time medalist, and I think if she gives a stellar performance, it would solidify her as the greatest of all time. And she actually has a few moves named after her,
Mhm.
which I think one of the moves, she's the only person that can pull it off, which
Yeah.
makes it that much different. USA women's soccer is always big because, well, I should say women's soccer is always big because of the US. But yesterday, because the Olympics has started, folks,
Yes, it is.
yesterday the US women's national team got beaten convincingly 3-0
Oops, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean
By
that.
who beat him?
by by
Sweden.
Sweden. Sweden beat them, and that's
Interesting.
and I guess it's no rollover because the US won the last
World Cup. Right.
and whatnot. For me, the Olympics is about track and field with respect to swimming. Swimming is usually the first
Mm-hmm.
week and a half, and then I believe track starts on the 31st of next Friday, I believe, the 31st or
But
30th.
but I think, okay, COVID is one thing, right? But let's look at it from a neutral. So Mikaela and me. Well, Mikaela looks more of an athlete than I do, but
Well, I was. Yes, most
yeah.
definitely.
So, but we love. We're more of the watchers. Like, we enjoy the sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
For neutrals, the last few Olympics, people have been watching. You've had Michael Phelps. You've had Usain Bolt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there's Simone Biles, the big name. Who are the other big names? I know for Bermuda, we only have 2 athletes, and Flora Duffy being one, so that's the big name for Bermuda. Who's the other one?
Yeah.
I guarantee many people couldn't name the other one, right?
Yeah.
He's a rower. I can't remember his name, but he'll be carrying our flag.
Yes, Dara, and
Dara, yes.
his last name is very hard for me to pronounce, so I wouldn't. I would have to read it, but I don't want to mess up his last name. But actually, he's a rower. He will compete on Friday, so best of luck to him. And Flora Duffy will compete on Monday about 6:30 p.m. Bermuda time. Um, she's our favorite for Olympic medal. She
First
does
since
well.
90, right?
She does. She's a full-time Olympian. This will be her fourth time being an Olympian. It's probably at 33 years old. We will say, this may be her last time
Yeah.
to strike for a medal, let alone gold. Let's just hope she gets a medal.
Mhm.
And she's done everything within the triathlon Olympic distance, the WTU series.
Mhm.
It's just, can she put it together? I think she was a bit hard done by the course in Rio,
Mhm.
and I know it's heat and humidity. That's what she said was a main claim from what she did an interview with the Royal Gazette. So we're just hope and see, and all of Bermuda will be behind her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rower's name is Dara Alizadeh,
Okay.
Alizadeh. So I'm just gonna say Alizadeh.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I really hope that Flora can pull it off this year, like all for Flora. But I watch track. That's it. I watch nothing but track and field. Like
You don't watch
I
the
was raised in.
gymnastics?
No, I don't care about gymnastics. Simone Biles is gonna be in. I don't really care. I mean, I used to when I was younger. Now I just like, especially with all that's going on with the U.S. women's gymnastics team and all the
Right.
nastiness. Like I'm just So
Yeah.
track field, I'm always rooting for the islands. Always like anti-Team USA all the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But like I remember the first Olympics we watched was that I remember was '96 when it was in Atlanta. And so yeah, my family's always been a big track and field. Like I love it. I live for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think let's go to the audience, because they definitely have a lot to add. Nikki Hartman says, I agree with that. Why push it? Didn't need to do it this year. Well, I would say I disagree. I mean, the Euros kind of went off, mind you. I mean, I think they're seeing the results of that now. Carlo John says, how about we just not have cup match as well? These events feel so forced.
Yeah, but I think cup match, that's local. We'll see how that goes. But when you're talking about multi sports over different venues, that's so harder to control. I think,
Yeah.
and to answer Nick's question, if they didn't have it this year, it would be canceled. And we've actually seen some athletes. Some athletes have taken a hit because the Olympics weren't in 2020. They were at the high, at the peak, and this year they're just not on a roll. And one named Donovan Brazier in the U.S. for the men's 800. He was the world champion in 2019 and looked unstoppable. This year he didn't even qualify for the Olympics. Like, it was just
Wow.
a niggling injury and what. So the timing is so hard. You have to plan your peak for whatever sport it is, and the sacrifice and whatnot. And I just think it came too far. Once they didn't run January, Marchish, they didn't cancel it. I think it just went too far, and they felt that they needed to go because
Yeah.
it's all about
We're running out of time. Let's bring in Liana. Just quick question to the audience. Are you interested in watching the Olympics this year? Will you be watching? Yes or no from the audience. Will you be tuning into the Olympics? Let's bring Liana in, see what she's saying. Okay, let's play something on Liana. Let's play her. If Lee was participating in the Olympics, what sport do you think she'd participate in?
Gymnastics.
Swimming.
I'm gonna say she looks like a sprinter. Let's go sprinter. Let's see what she says. Which one she would.
I think she'll say that too.
Hey Lee.
Really? Mikaela, gymnastics?
Which sport do you think you would participate in, Lee?
I was gonna say track. I mean, I'm not a sprinter, mind you. Like, I was a long distance runner. I did triathlons as well for the better half of my younger years.
I don't know. You took me as a track person. You definitely took me as a track person.
Yeah, for sure.
I got the distance wrong. So since you were a distance runner, since you did it back in the day, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, Larry, I think since we want you to help Liana revive her running and get her ready for next year's race. Her, Mikaela, Sherry, and somebody else will do a relay in the Bermuda Day Marathon.
No, listen, I've been saying this for like 14 years. Like, if I had a team to train with, I would absolutely do it. I would.
But we're doing it because I already spoke on it this year that I will be running Bermuda Marathon like next year. Like, for real, I feel like the week afterwards, I went out for a run. I don't know about that half marathon.
I would suggest you start with the relay, put your team together. A certain person who's the co-host of this show was supposed to be training for it. So
look, we got 4 people. Let's go.
I can't.
No, we don't.
That person?
No, we don't. Somebody has to stand on the side, take pictures and video, and I have applied for that. We're gonna end this. Larry, thanks so much for the discussion. Lee, we're gonna send it over to you for the news. It looks like, well, before we go to the news break, a lot of people saying they're going to tune into the Olympics. Nachika Trott says no, she's not going to. Graham Smith says yes. And it looks like Makuta Lee, she says yes, especially track. Malcolm Rayner is a definitely. Angeline Butler says track mostly. The track scene is big. I love this from Graham Smith. I love this. Triathlon. I was gonna say, like, I was hoping people would be like, of course, the triathlon.
Well, we want Laura, but that's it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I thought people would be like, yeah, of course, Flora Duffy, right?
Giffen, right?
We've got Shanna Smith says swimming and track and field gymnastics. So it looks like we've got our colleague Terry. She says she's currently training for Bermuda Day Half Marathon 2022. So you've got some people on your team.
No, she wants to do the marathon. I'm not doing that. I'll do the relay.
Right, it's relay for us.
Yeah.
Folks, we're going to be back with after Liana. We're going to have a conversation about a third pillar to the economy. This is an important conversation that we need all hands on deck. Right now, it's tourism, it's IB. It's been that way my entire life. But Bermuda desperately needs another pillar to get our economy going. So do not go anywhere. Liana, it's over to you, sis.
Thanks, Jamel, Larry, and Mikaela. Good morning to all of those who are tuned in with us this morning. I hope everyone is having a great start to their day. I'm Liana Lambert, and it's time for our daily hour news break. So here's what's going on in today's top stories. A Paget resident yesterday narrowly escaped injury after a utility pole toppled across a busy road and punched straight through his bedroom wall. Now, the pole came down on the middle road near Bostock Hill after a tractor trailer got snared on hanging cables around 11 a.m., pulling one pole down and damaging another. Pictures of the falling pole, which quickly circulated social media chat groups, also knocked out a stone pillar holding up the porch of the house, which faced the roadside. Now, the resident one of two Filipino guest workers at the residence, is said to have been on a job instead of home at the time. As of 6 p.m. last evening, Middle Road was down to one lane while Belco Crews repaired the damage. Shelly Lehman, Belco's managing director of transmission, distribution, and detail, confirmed that nobody was thankfully injured in the incident. In other news, a nursery school in Hamilton Parish was yesterday ordered to temporarily close after an incident earlier this week sparked an investigation. Now, details are not entirely clear of the incident, but it is said that the Little Blessings Nursery on North Shore Road near Shelley Bay is being reviewed by officers of the Department of Child and Family Services and the Child Care Regulation Program. Parents of the child have been notified by officers of the Child and Family Services regarding the incident. Alternative centers and providers were given to parents in the interim. It is unclear when the nursery would reopen. However, it will be dependent upon the implementation of additional safety measures. An investigation has been launched at the Westgate Correctional Facility after the sudden death of an inmate. A spokesperson for the Ministry of National Security confirmed the death earlier yesterday afternoon, saying that the incident is currently under investigation. Now, they say at this stage it is too soon to comment any further on the matter, but they have extended their condolences to the family of the deceased. And Sophia Cannonier and husband Michael Watson reappeared in magistrate's court yesterday and denied additional charges of breaching the government's COVID-19 quarantine regulations. Now, both were charged with refusing to comply with a mandatory quarantine as directed by a health officer by leaving their Devonshire home before the end of their quarantine period. Ms. Cannonier was also charged with allowing unauthorized persons to visit her while in quarantine. Senior Magistrate Juan Wolf gave a statement during the hearing saying there is a fundamental misunderstanding of the way in which the criminal justice system works and about the independence of the judiciary, and said that he made no quarantine order. He then released them on $3,000 bail and ordered them to stay home until they've received a negative day 14 COVID-19 test, which will take place on July 25th. The case was adjourned until August 16th. Turning to today's weather, we have a high near 84 and a low near 76 degrees. We'll see sunny periods with a few showers around and possible distant rumble. Conditions will continue to gradually deteriorate as multiple prefrontal troughs move into the area from the west. Now, although the ridge may hold firm at first, eventually showers may occasionally build to give distant rumbles. The showers will merge into longer spells of rain at times, especially by Friday into Saturday. Winds will remain breezy out of the southwest. That's all for our daily hour news break. Let's head back to Jamel and Mikaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
We're here, Lee. We're here. Don't worry about that. Thank you for that. I want to go back to your story about a pool going through a home.
Yeah.
A bedroom, huh?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys had seen the photos, but it boggles my mind how that actually happened. Like that thing like just jammed straight through.
I need to see the photos because I'm actually not visualizing this.
Oh my goodness. I will send them to you.
Yeah, please send, Lee, because that's crazy. Again, I tell you, thank you. News is so complicated because it's like there's always something you're like, no way, that really happened. Like, how does this happen in real life, right? But no, Lee, thank you so much for that. And tomorrow is Friday, end of the week already, and look, in a week today, our team will be preparing to go out there to take our cup back. Don't worry about what that Sherry sister says tomorrow. We'll jump. We'll jump. We'll jump. All right. So, Lee, we'll see you tomorrow. And folks, do not go anywhere. Very important conversation coming up. Stick with us. We will be right back.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah,
Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
We're welcoming back the often featured Whole Food veterans Bragg Live Food Products, renowned for their live probiotic organic raw cider vinegar and savory seasonings. Paul Bragg is the man behind the products and has originated health food stores, restaurants, and spas, and promoted nutrition education through the media, helping lay the foundation for the enlightened way we make healthful choices when we shop for and prepare food. This month we're featuring Bragg Organic Raw and Unfiltered Apple Cider Vinegar and Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Mikaela and I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can stream this and many other locally produced shows as well. Don't forget the Daily Play coming up, folks. You know how it goes. You guess the answer before Mikaela. I know that's hard to do. I know it's hard. But if you guess it before her, you win a prize. It could be a voucher to Lindo's or People's Pharmacy. It could be a mug. Well, hey. You'll only find out if you beat Mikaela to the punch. That said, look, we've had some very important conversations lately. Last week, the Premier of Bermuda, David Burt, was on, and we spoke about the economy a lot, spoke about his plans to get Bermuda out of the hole it's in. Obviously, the pandemic took away from opportunities that Bermuda may have had to bounce back financially and from the situation it is in. Related to the debt and so on. So the conversation we want to have with the audience today is, what do you think will be a viable alternative, well, not even alternative, addition to what tourism and IB? Like, what do you think is a third pillar option that Bermuda can look at to grow its economy? Because at the end of the day, they've had all these studies. What was that report? Was it a SAGE report that was done?
Yeah,
they've had different reports over the years, but it never seems like anything's taken place. But Bermuda's only 21 square miles big, right? 20, I think that's the last check. It's always changing, right? But what can the small island of Bermuda do to grow its economy? Where do we see opportunity?
Yeah, I feel like the fintech, Bitcoin, I don't really know a lot about it. So I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about it, but it seemed like that was like what the premier and I guess his advisors were kind of banking on. Mm-hmm. But I feel like we haven't seen anything come out of that. Mm-hmm. 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 I don't know.
I guess, and you're right, because I remember after the election, there was a lot put on fintech, crypto, the whole, technology driven industry in that respect. And I could be wrong, and some people may say I'm defending the premier and the government, but at the end of the day, a pandemic did happen. Now you can say, well, was there really progress before that? Some things take time, but at the end of the day, when a pandemic happens, the world shuts down. Yes, there are people like the Bezos of the world who are jumping on their own rocket ships, in the shapes of you-know-whats, and then you have the other billionaire Richard Branson. You have those people who have made money and so on. So we can't act like there have not been opportunities for certain people.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we have not seen economic opportunities for most countries expand during this time, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, and I'll go back to 4 years ago now, because that was when the PLP came back into power, right? And I just feel like, and maybe I'm a little bit biased and I accept that, but having worked with the America's Cup, I saw what could have been such an amazing potential with the space. And I just feel like it's a shame. My feeling is that the PLP government, because they did not support the event, they did not think it was a good idea for Bermuda, chose not to have any further dealings, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because the wholesale GP series that Russell Coots created directly after Oracle Team USA lost the America's Cup, that started right away, and I just feel like we probably missed out. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, subsequent America's Cup events we're going to save Bermuda. Of course not. But the economic impact from that 2-year long event in Bermuda, well, it wasn't 2 years, but you know what I mean? There was such an economic impact, you know? And I just wonder if we could have leveraged that to make more money, you know?
Yeah, I think the whole purpose of the America's Cup was to leverage it long term, and I think once the government changed, the opportunity wasn't there. I was not a fan of the America's Cup based on what they put out, and that goes to the video I watched today. Even as it relates to the Olympics, how less and less countries are bidding for it. However, once it's there, you have to take advantage of it, and you have to leverage it in your interest. I think it was so political. Malcolm Rayner corrects me. Thanks so much, Malcolm, for this. Sage was course. I believe you're referring to Bermuda First. Yes, I was. Thank you for that. Carlo John says, I still don't understand the purpose of Bitcoin. The fact that it's so hard to explain makes people very weary. And that goes back to what I said to the premier last week. I think the government, if you want buy-in from people on things, then you have to find a way to communicate it effectively to people. And I don't disagree with you. I don't truthfully understand it like I should if they want my support, right? If you want people to support something, people who think for themselves, then you have to explain it to them in a way where they'll understand it.
And that's the thing, like we did talk about this last week with Premier Bert. You cannot come out and say, oh, we've explained this to people multiple times. Obviously, you have not done a good job if people don't understand it still. If people still, like, I cannot, and I read the news every day because it's important for me to be informed about what's going on in my island. I cannot sit here and explain to you what Bitcoin is or FinTech. I cannot.
Mikaela,
you know?
It's so bad.
So that, what'd you say?
It's so bad that I Googled one day and I couldn't make sense of it.
Right. And so that's a communications problem. And it's also a comprehension problem because you've got to be able to explain things like Carla said in a way in which the average person can understand. Like I've said many times, when I was in school learning all about how to be a journalist, a broadcaster, etc., we were taught your stories need to be written at a 7th grade education level so that everyone can understand them.
Indeed. Tamara Richardson says cannabis, agriculture, technology, science, pharmacology, manufacturing, research. These are some of the ways like that we can add a third pillar to the economy. What is this? I don't want to guess, but just I'm not going to say me. For those who may not understand, Tamara, what is pharmacology? If you can explain pharmacology.
That's what I wanted to know. I think she's right in terms of cannabis, and I think it's a big miss. So again, we talked about this last week with the premier, and unfortunately, many people in the community believe that the way that the bill was written and presented meant that it was not for people like us. So people like us would not be able to really get into the industry and make money because there was so much red tape. It cost so much to even get a license, etc. So I feel like that probably could be something viable. But if it's only designed for people who are already wealthy to make money, then something's got to give.
Yeah. Couple of comments. Joanne Smith and Sean Smith, Kales.
Sure. We have to teach Bermudians to create wealth for themselves, trading, coding, fintech, etc. Explain to me what fintech is, please, Joanne. I'd love a layman's explanation. Sean Smith said services and products in the online space, coding, online payment, clearinghouses. I believe in online business. You guys know this. Online business is fantastic, but I don't think online business is going to be a third pillar for Bermuda.
Yeah. Well, let me add to that, Mikaela. I remember a conversation I had with Craig Kennedy when he was premier back in probably 2013. And I said to him, instead of trying to build another hotel up where Morgan's Point is, why don't we create Bermuda's own little, what they call it, Silicon Valley? Why can't we create a tech hub up there? And I think, I look even at Bahamas, right? Bahamas has obviously more space, different islands, but I always see movies being made there. You can create a tax space and have an area where you got Bermuda's only little Hollywood. Like those are things where I'm like, we have to think beyond the spaces we live in and stop thinking about, what we can do as an island and think of what we can do as a country, as a place that has an economy, a working economy that doesn't have to just rely on the traditional tourism and IB as it is, you know?
No, I agree with you. I think the problem that we have is there's always this excuse, and I'm not a politician, so, this is just me talking. But I think we have this excuse of, oh, we're just a little small island. Oh, it's expensive here. Oh, we're just 21 miles in the Atlantic. So there's nothing innovative. There's nothing creative. There's nothing new and interesting. It tends to be the same old, same old, same old, no matter who's in government, no matter who's running tourism, you know what I mean? And so it's just, yeah, I mean, how can we even get past that thinking of IB tourism, this is what we do well, so we're not even going to explore other options?
Yeah. Quentin Stovall, he says, I disagree with the PLP America's Cup support per se, but the execution of the event and distribution of opportunities.
I don't understand that comment.
Yeah, Quentin, just explain, because I think it might have been something we said earlier, but I honestly can't remember. Joanne Smith says Bitcoin is an interrupter to make us think about what is possible in areas of business and banking. And then Sean Smith says Bitcoin is digital money. That doesn't help me. I mean, I still like it. So are you saying a Bitcoin is just, instead of me having $100 in paper right here, it's a digital coin? I need to make sense of it, folks. Like, you're talking to, like, just think of a child, right? They don't know anything, right? You have to think of it like that. And I'm okay being vulnerable at that point. I'm okay like that. Seriously, that's how I learn.
Yeah.
You have to literally break it down. And the truth is, and no offense, well, if someone gets offended, so be it. But part of the reason I think Bermuda has done a bad job of educating people as to what crypto, fintech, Bitcoin, all that is because the people pushing it don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I get that the world is evolving. And the world is definitely in a digital space. And I say this as someone who makes money online in the digital space. But you've got to be able to explain it in a way that makes sense to people. Bermuda's still very behind when it comes to the digital world. Most businesses don't even have websites. Let's be real. So I feel like if you can't explain, I mean, people have made comments. I still don't know what it is. What is a disruptor? What does that mean? I think that's the word. No, interrupter. I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, I think Uber is a disruptor to the taxi industry. We understand like this is a disruptor to banking, but we're trying to understand how is it a disruptor. Carla John, she's saying Bermuda is missing out on the cannabis boom. I think people underestimate the amount of money there. Tamara Richardson Kills.
Pharmacology explains the use and modes of actions of drugs. So taking the cannabis plant and all its compounds and researching how they impact different conditions. That's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, my brain definitely needs to expand on that. James Birch says, my take on Bitcoin right now is that it's unregulated way of trading of value. It's based on the belief in its value. So based on belief in its value. Graham Smith, Mikaela.
Suggestions: through widespread community engagement using deliberative democracy models, create a long-term national strategic sustainable development plan with action plans, benchmarks. Yeah.
We need to have these conversations. Emerald Warren says, intellectual property is the key to the future growth of Bermuda. It is at the foot of all ideas which we really lack. I agree, Elmore. Yes, I definitely agree.
I agree. And that's the thing, like, there's so many of us. Bermuda has no shortage of intelligent people. Bermuda has no shortage of people with incredible ideas. So what I say, and this is what I've been saying for a long time, especially if you are a person of color, your path to wealth is entrepreneurship. Your path to wealth is taking what you do really well and monetizing that. Because we cannot wait for anyone to save us. We cannot wait for anyone to help us. No one's coming to save us. And if they're not giving you a seat at the table, make your own table.
Create your own. Yeah.
That's just it.
Yeah, create your own. Teresa Stewart says, a truly creative and technology innovation hub could be the third pillar. That's where I've been at for a while. Malcolm Rayner actually says, a third pillar have been tried and tried. How many remember the push for e-commerce back in the year 2000? It never materialized. The energy should be spent on further diversifying our main economies. for instance, sports tourism and expanding the industry in off-peak months, America's Cup should have been embraced by all. Now, I want to touch on that because Malcolm makes a great point, folks. Should we be discussing a third pillar, or should we be saying, no, hold up. We can focus on growing medical tourism. We can focus on growing sports tourism. I mean, these are the things, are these conversations being had? I'll use this for instance. Where do Bermudians go for medical tourism? To Boston mostly, right? That's medical tourism when you think about it, right? Yeah. Bermudians up there. When I lived in Boston, I hated seeing Bermudians in Boston because I always knew it was not a good thing. Like someone was in a hospital, or someone was. You knew it wasn't good. So for me, I was always uneasy about seeing Bermudians up there. But that's medical tourism because you're seeing people in the mall, everything. Does Bermuda have the capacity to do something like that? I don't know, but I support your view for sure, Malcolm Rana, that maybe we need to diversify the economies we have.
Yeah, the thing about it is, I remember there trying to be a push for sports tourism, like with the World Triathlete, I can't remember, triathlon thing 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And then, of course, America's Cup. And yeah, America's Cup should have been embraced by everyone. It should have. I get it. It was political, and that sucks. But a decision was made. It was coming. It should have been fully embraced. Yeah. And I think there was a huge missed opportunity in that regard. But I kind of agree with you in a sense where, okay, we're doing IB, we're doing tourism. How can we then innovate that? How can we, I don't know about medical tourism. And I say that just because Bermuda is very expensive in terms of medical procedures. This isn't a case of like Dominican Republic where a lot of women go for plastic surgery. Let's be real. It's a third world country. Things are less expensive. Doctors in the Dominican Republic do not have, like, they're not board certified in the US,
We still use the term third world, but yeah, go ahead. Your point.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be offensive or anything like that. I don't know what the new term is.
I got your point. Economically, they're just in a different space than us.
Economically disadvantaged? Is that the proper term?
Well, I mean, Bermuda's economically disadvantaged for some people, but for me, for sure. But no, I take your point, Mikaela, because costs definitely play a role in how we grow our economy. And at the end of the day, Bermuda's is a very expensive place to do business. And we have to consider that. What are the tax breaks? Let's be honest, most international businesses and companies, they go places for the best deal. And so what are they going to do to attract new companies and businesses? Quentin Stovall, Mikaela.
What you suggest is what most ethnic groups exercise en masse, except the current majority Black population in Bermuda. But we had it prior to integration.
Wow. I remember many years ago, I asked the question, was integration necessarily the best thing for Black people? That's another conversation, but I did ask that question. Tamara Richardson says, for example, THC and CBD, two very different compounds from the same plant, react very different in the human body and very different for each individual. There's tremendous opportunity here, but it seems we are only focused on the money that can come, not the paradigm shift. Healthcare. Ooh, there we go. There we go. And we've had that conversation before when the government was, I heard the debate in the House when they were speaking about cannabis legalization. And, it seemed like it was money, not about the health and wellness of individuals. So that was very.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but the Minister of Health didn't even speak during the debate. So,
yeah, if I remember correctly, her nor the Minister of National Security, which
correct, which both of those ministries would be wildly affected, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. Elmore Warren says China has just changed the game as a major and product provider. Now it's just a matter of value. So a lot of interest coming in today. A lot of conversations. Graham Smith, Mikaela.
Morgan's Point, a brand new mixed-use town development with homes, condos, apartments, ferry service to Hamilton/Dockyard, shops, restaurants, farming, walking trails, water sports, football field, gym, community center, town hall, tech and trade center, school, doctor's offices, theater. Yeah, that could be interesting.
But that was my hope for Morgan's Point. Instead of just thinking a hotel and golf courses, why don't we create its own little village where it can be a tech hub? It can be another Hamilton. Like it can be something where it gives the economy a chance to grow. I just look, I don't have the answers, and this is why we're having a conversation. You all, the audience, you all, Mikaela, we all have ideas, and it's about putting our ideas together and trying to come up with something that makes the economy flow well. Wesley Robinson says, example, have a facility for professional teams to train off season. We have a whole field facility at the Tatum that can be turned into a world-class attraction for sports teams in different disciplines. We can certainly make this work. Well, I want to touch on that, Wesley. So myself, Adam Barboza, and Daniel Johnson actually came up with the sports tourism plan in the BTA. And it was Adam Barboza that actually suggested, we need to make a decision. Are we trying to hold sports tourism events? Or are we trying to bring people here to train? And the idea was, because we don't have the facilities to necessarily have the big events, to focus on bringing teams to Bermuda to train. I remember when I was first in tourism, pushing sports tourism, I was getting stuff thrown at me saying, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. My hope is that Charles Jeffers, the new CEO of the BTA, along with Hazel Clark, who oversees sports, they're allowed to do their job without government interference and see the opportunities that sports tourism can do for Bermuda, as you've just stated, Wesley Robinson. Sean Brown, Mikaela, as we wrap it up.
An even better avenue are psychedelics, i.e. mushrooms, MDMA, except these drugs were initially created for mental illness. Now there is a resurgence in this field to treat PTSD, depression, etc. That's interesting.
And Manuela John says, it seems like medical tourism was part of the discussion when the new KEMH was initially being discussed. I want to say Dr. Brown I knew it was in a conversation previously. I just can't remember who.
I agree.
Sean Smith says, correct, Jamal, replace one Bermuda dollar with one Bitcoin. It's the simplest way to explain it. Most people do not understand how currency works, but they use them. Go ahead, Mikaela, you were going to say something.
No. I'm just that's an interesting explanation from Sean. That kind of makes a little bit more sense for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's all just fascinating to me, and I hope that the powers that be are having these conversations, because otherwise, what are we even doing?
Yeah, let's go through two more comments. Rosalind Famous, Mikaela, and then I'll wrap it up with Elmore Warren.
Sure. One of the first steps is to make it more understandable, is to clarify that fintech is not a synonym for cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, those terms were poorly used from the beginning. Cryptocurrency is just one aspect of financial technology industry, i.e. fintech. ATM machines is also an example of financial technology. See, that makes a little bit more sense.
Righty. And Elmore Warren says, no, Morgan Point should not have been used to create an IB island to take the power keg out of the local marketplace for rental, etc., like the base did. I would have been given them their own airstrip, given them their own airstrip and gate community that Bermudian provide services to. Let me say this to you, Elmore. Going forward, I would love to see any investment in Bermuda have to involve Bermudian entrepreneurs, for instance. So if we're going to build this type of island, that there will have to be contracts signed where people like yourself would have a vested interest and a part to play, not a bit part, but a huge part to play. So you have to involve the locals to make it work for the economy. An economy cannot work without the locals taking place. I'm being involved in it. Carla John says, I'm loving this show with no guest. Well, Carla, interestingly enough, spoke to our producer yesterday, and we will be doing many more shows like this and engaging the audience so that we can have these kinds of discussions. These kinds of discussions we believe are helpful for Bermuda as a whole. We don't have the answers. Like Mikaela and I are very clear. And one thing I love about Mikaela, you all don't see us, but we used to always have, what we still do, but we just haven't lately because we got the show we do this on. But we'll have back and forths on social media, right? We will. But Mikaela is very clear, as I am. We're not experts at some of this stuff. So we're not coming from we're just really sharing our opinions based on what we do know and asking questions of the audience so that we can put our ideas together. Because at the end of the day, and I don't say this to minimize the pandemic, right? But there is a pandemic taking place. There is a virus out there, right? And we have to learn to live with it. But guess what? When the pandemic's over, we still have to find a way to live, survive, and make do and create ways to better our lives for the sake of our community, our families, and ourselves. And the way that we believe we can do that is by having important conversations with all of you so that we can get to a place of understanding,
Mhm.
and if not understanding, but just a better place where we can at least smile more. You know what I'm saying? Smile more. Not be comfortable, but grow. I
Yeah.
think yes.
No, yeah, it's all about having thought-provoking, engaging conversation. I am not an expert in a whole bunch of things, but I enjoy learning, I enjoy educating myself, and I enjoy listening to different people's point of views so that I can challenge the way that I think.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. You all know how this works. If you guess the answer before Mikaela, you will get something. I'm thinking a $25 voucher to People's Pharmacy today, since we're
That's a
talking.
good one.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do today. So if you get the answer, stick with us, right? Because Mikaela is very good, folks. Like people, and I'll be honest. So I don't send these messages to Mikaela, but when you all hit me up and say, "Man, why don't you get it? It's just smart." I'm always so shocked and surprised. I'm like, "Look, I know Mikaela, but honestly, sometimes I do think we're going to get one over on us." So stick with us. I think we've got it today, folks. We've got it. Don't go anywhere.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
All right, folks, welcome back to the big show. It's the Daily Hour. Thanks again to One Communications, Medical House, Lindos, our friends over at Channel 82, everyone who continues to back this show, People's Pharmacy, The Movement Moment, BEDC. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Mikaela, it's named that place. Are you ready?
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
All right, folks, here we go. Let me bring up the card. All right. Which South American countries or country does the equator pass through?
Oh, geez.
We got him.
Brazil?
That's one.
Colombia?
That's two.
And there's one more. I'm trying to visualize the map. Peru?
Well, you know what? Everyone's saying the answer in the audience, and we're going to give the winner. We're going to give it to, is it Natalie Sheen? Who
Ecuador. I was going to say Ecuador.
Yes. So the equator passes through these three South American countries, Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador. Natalie
Listen,
Sheen,
you said country or countries, and I got 2 out of 3, so that's a win.
No, all three.
You said country or countries.
See, Mikaela don't want you all be great. She don't want you.
Would you like to go back and watch what you just said?
No. I know what I said. You didn't name all the countries, but you named 2 countries. So I'm not going to say you got it wrong. I didn't say you got it wrong. Well, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to help the audience get a prize. That's it.
Listen, Natalie can have the prize because Ecuador should have been the obvious equator. Ecuador.
Yeah, makes sense actually. See, this is how her brain works. Look at how she did that, folks. Rosalind got it. We have Shonette Bell got it. We have that person, WK Lama. No, Kivane didn't get it. She said Venezuela, and Carmen Mitchell Jones said Peru. But for the most part, a lot of people got Ecuador. I would have guessed, honestly, if I didn't know, I would have obviously said Brazil because Brazil's like the biggest country in South America. I probably would have stopped at Brazil. Like I would have stopped at Brazil, right? And Ecuador just makes so much sense.
Ecuador makes sense, definitely. I mean, for me, I'm trying to visualize because that's how my brain works. So I'm like trying to visualize. Okay, Brazil's here, Colombia, but yeah, Ecuador is the obvious other one.
Look, Natalie says yes. Thank you. And you said my name correctly. Well, I'm big on getting names right. Natalie,
yes.
Please send us an email at engage@thedailyhour.com as soon as you possible so we can get you your prize. Your winnings a $25 voucher to People's Pharmacy. Kales, you got any final thoughts on today's show before you give us our daily inspiration?
I love this conversation. I really did. I love talking about the Olympics and the conversation of, how can we grow our economy? Like, what else can we do? It's such an important conversation, and it's just so incredible to be able to have this conversation with all of you. Like, I absolutely love it. So thank you to everyone who commented and participated.
For sure. Any we need some daily inspiration, Kales. Help us out.
Yes, this is my vibe for today, for the week, really, for the month. It is not your job to be everything to everyone.
I love that. And I want to say I put something similar on Twitter. Like, not everyone's going to appreciate you, right?
Nope.
But focus on those who do. So I love that one. Folks, don't forget, engage with us on social media. We really, really appreciate you. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, and Linders for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. I appreciated the conversation, the engagement from the audience, the ideas. Hopefully some of our leaders and decision makers will listen in today and can take some of the things that we discussed. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just go on there, hit subscribe, and toggle that notification button. On another note, as always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Mikaela in. I'm Jamel Hartman. Hey, Kales, before we say make it a great day, I think we're going to have the cup match captains next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think we've got the cup match captains coming next week. So
I need to pull out my flag.
Yeah, we got to get our blue together for next week. So
let me get myself together.
Next week's going to be a big week, short week, but a big week. The cup match captains, and then we're going to be inviting the audience into the studio on Wednesday as we, get ready for the game. However we decide to celebrate. So enjoy this all the way. Make it a great day, folks. Peace.